offbeat.org. My name is International Master William Paschall. First name, International. Anyway, I'm just kidding. It's a stupid joke. But we are going to get started with Weird Wednesday here. It's the 19th of April, 2017. I don't know where the time goes. It seems like it was just 2004 a minute ago, but it's 2017. I've been here in Budapest since 2004. That's like 13 years. I don't know how that happened. Originally from the United States, and I'm an international master living here. World Loser has just started watching. World Loser, welcome. Missed you yesterday. We're going to be playing any kind of time control between 5 plus 3 and 8 plus 3. Welcome everyone. Blue Crow, me. We've got challenges from World Loser, Blue Crow, SXPG, Mule Skinner, who beat me soundly yesterday, Nabil. No more giving me time, Nabil. Aura Knight. What else? Oh, it's Weird Wednesday, so I'm trying to play unusual openings today. It means basically I'm not playing like totally unsound stuff. By the way, yesterday I was a little bit on tilt. I lost some blitz games to weaker players, and I started to be a little frustrated, so I started to play in some blitz tournament. I was playing knight h3 and knight h6 every single game, and it worked. I won all my games, but generally speaking, I mean, I think that these openings that are really crazy, like knight to h3, h5, I mean, f6 or f3, I mean, knight h6 isn't too bad. It's the best of those. But I try to play not like really absurd stuff when we're doing the Weird Wednesday stream. I want to play sound openings that are like basically not really part of my regular repertoire. Maybe interesting gambits that are respectable. Sound things like the King's Gambit, Budapest Gambit, for example, other fun stuff. I do play some pretty extreme stuff. Maybe the most extreme, like the St. George defense, e4, a6, sometimes something like that. But within the realm of sanity. So we're gonna get started with this game against Blue Crow. World Loser. Any challenge between again 5-3 and 8-3. That means any kind of increment up to 5 seconds. So it's kind of complicated if you've never watched the stream before. But if you want to challenge me to 6-5, 5-5, 7-5, any increment up to 5 seconds until the maximum of 8 plus 3. 8 plus 3 is the longest time control we're going to play. That's a game that can take basically almost 20 minutes if we play a long game. So I think 18 or 19 minutes probably is feasible. Anyway, we've got 2.5 hours till 12:30 CET. Let's get started. I still haven't finished my coffee, so I'm still half asleep. Alright, it's Weird Wednesday, Blue Crow. I've got to try to play something a little bit different. But I'm always scared to play d4 because sometimes the game just gets really dry after that. e4 allows more possibilities for kind of fun openings. If you guys have a request for a particular opening, that's not outside the realm of possibility. Sometimes people will be like, all right, they play e4 and they say, well, they want to play the King's Gambit. I might let them, play e5, whereas normally I wouldn't play e5. Blue Crow playing knight c6. For most people, this is a weird opening. I have played knight c6, not against really strong players. I was using it for a while when I was black against lower rated players, probably up until around 2300 years ago. I went through a phase where I was playing the Nimzovich defense quite a bit, but I don't think I would have risked it against someone my own level. Probably, I think the strongest players I played it against were probably around 2300. But it's a good opening to get your opponent out of book. Now, this was played against me by the late great Tony Miles. He played one exhibition game with me. Well, we played a number of exhibition games on now defunct World Chess Network. And one of the games again against Tony, I tried this idea, bishop e5. Why not? And Miles played e5 against me, trying to transpose to a more normal opening. The second time I played this against FIDE Master John Curdo, who's a New England chess legend, Curdo played a more dynamic move. He played knight f6 against me, which I thought was a little more interesting than Miles' e5, but both moves are perfectly reasonable. It's kind of like a Trompowsky on the other side of the board. In both games were draws. I drew against Miles. It became like a Berlin defense. And I think Kurdo also I drew. I didn't really get any opening advantage. I don't know what to call this. We need a name for this. This quote-unquote system. I mean, I just played it inspirationally over the board. I'm sure that it's possible it was played before. You know, I don't take credit for this opening. But at the same time, I didn't, you know, copy anyone. I just came up with the idea over the board. So A6, that's an interesting idea. Calling my bluff here. Well, I mean, I think we're going to take. I don't really play the exchange Lopez, but I feel like if he's going to provoke me with a tempo loss with A6, bishop takes, B5 takes C6 has got to be pretty legit. We have some flexibility we wouldn't have normally, you know, if like knight F3 and E5 were already in here. I might be able to play F4 and get that pawn out in front. The other possibility is D3. To D3, E5, F4. Undermining his center. I mean, I'm certain that there are other ways for White to play the position. But if you're wondering why I'm talking about F4, that's a move that I think that White ultimately would strive to play in the exchange Lopez, but oftentimes it's difficult to execute, and like you can never get it in, or if you do get it in, it's probably like on move 25 or something. King Stevois, hello. Somebody else, A&E Bamba, hi. Someone else said hello. Chess League TV, Soldier 89, and Music Dan were all. Neil Skinner said hi. We're all hosting. We're getting like 70 to 80 viewers. It's awesome, guys. Pretty much every day. I also have a stream I do on Sundays, which is a simul stream. Basically, every Sunday evening, I try to play a simul against 20 to 25 players. I hadn't been here for a few weeks, so last week we were a little bit short of players. I couldn't quite gather 25. But there was also the marathon, the chess marathon, blitz marathon, and other stuff going on. So, other notes. I'm excited because the Gashimov Memorial will start on Friday, I think. And this is a particularly interesting tournament because Gashimov was an inspiring player, and Vugar Gashimov from Azerbaijan, and it's interesting because Gashimov Memorial is a tournament that's gathering a lot of really dynamic players, interesting players. Anyway, this is a fast time control. I better pick up the pace here a little bit. I forgot it was 5-4, to be honest with you guys. This could actually, well, it's never going to be a Sicilian, but when he plays c5, it's going to start to feel like a Rossolimo Sicilian. Oh my God, that's an ugly move there, Plucro. That's got to be one of the ugliest moves I've ever seen. B5. Wow, that is really sort of ugly. This dark square, man. I mean, I thought you were gonna try to play c5, but instead he played b5, and it looks like he has some significant weaknesses on the dark squares. Okay, maybe not that easy for me to exploit it. I mean, I'm not used to playing the white side of the Rossolimo, but I understand the basic plans. Yeah, you corralled my knight. He's going to have to go to like d1 or e2. So anyway, the Gashimov Memorial, I think I saw Kramnik is playing. Okay, he's not the most dynamic player, but Vladimir knows how to play for a win. You know, just because he's like positional and kind of quiet, oftentimes doesn't make him not aggressive. It's a really good collection of players. Topalov. So I think you guys are going to enjoy it if you follow it. B5 is it's like the worst strategic move ever. I agree. Now knight f6. Not really sure what I should do here though. We don't have too much time. I don't think I can let him go knight g4. I don't want this coming in. So we'll play h3. And, I mean, you could certainly consider bishop h6. I guess I could play bishop h6. It wouldn't be a bad move. But I was not certain if it's right yet, or... I guess that would be fine. On the other hand, man, bishop e6 is pretty weird too, to be honest with you. I'm going to go to e2. I could play knight f3 as well. Maybe it doesn't make that much difference. They're both good. Bishop e6, this piece, Rosalimo, I've talked about this a lot, and many openings. It's a kind of tragedy. Oh no, a5, all right. Wonder if I should play a3 or not. Maybe we'll just castle. b4. No, I'm just announcing the moves at this point, but man, these squares, that square in particular, we can just kind of probe with a3. I was a little bit worried about the bishop on the long diagonal, but he's having a hard time kind of doing anything. a3 here. a3 is going to be interesting for sure. I can't see any objection to a3. We are getting very low on time. 1 minute against 42 seconds. The other rook could come to b1, I was thinking. We're just completely playing on the queen side now. And looks like he's aiming for knight b5. All right, we're on the a pawn. We're just going to pick it off. It's not Flucro's best game. It's possible he wasn't fully awake yet as well. I don't know what time he wakes up, but he wanted c5, he said. Positional disaster. Maybe I should just play b3 at this point. Leaves my knight with no retreat square. Well, it's got a4. The tragedy is he can't even play f5 because he would like to, but I would like to play something. I don't want to tell him what it is. Oh no. Yeah, there's a lot of knights that can go to e6 here. It wasn't your most brilliant game. Wow, it was a bad day for Plucro. Okay, positionally, he got wrecked here. A success for bishop b5. All right. Good start, guys. The first game for today, yeah. It's the Rossalimo against the Nimzovich defense. All right, World Losers up 5+3. Guys, let's check the challenges. No rated challenges. Everything between 5-3 and 8-3. Casual. Looks good. All right. World Loser, welcome back. Was an ugly start for Plucro. Our moderator. Yeah, he got out of the gate badly with b5. Was just I mean, c5 makes sense because like in the exchange Lopez, you're going to play c5, kind of clamp down on the d4 square. And you would have had a very exchange Lopez type of position. Also in the Rossalimo Sicilian. I guess, you know, in order for it to transpose to a Rossalimo Sicilian, black would have to play like c5 and c6. It's kind of strange. World Loser, I have to move first, right? Let me think. Let's play the Chigorin reversed here. Veresov opening. Something, actually not the Veresov opening, that's after d4, which I might play here, but I called it the Veresov. It's only the Veresov if I play d4. This is actually the Dunst, or some people call it the Linkspringer, the left knight. It has many names. I guess in every different country this is called something else for white. The Van Geet, right? In the Netherlands they call it the Van Geet. I can't decide. I mean, knight f3 is also a move. We can play a kind of two knights tango. Let's try that. Something interesting. The two knights tango reversed. Our old moderator, Jeroen, he was a player who liked to play f4. That's another idea. So basically now we have two choices, I think, e3 or e4. But I'm going to play this kind of like a two knights tango with colors reversed. I don't think the extra move means a whole lot here. I'm pretty familiar with Alexei Yermolinsky, and he wrote a book about chess strategy years ago, where I think he talks a bit about this. Not that many people have hit on it, but Yermolinsky went out of his way to discuss the fact that, like, reversed openings, that extra tempo oftentimes doesn't really matter that much. And I think it's an interesting concept that he did discuss. So we can play Bologan-esque type of stuff with g3 here. Basically a more aggressive way of playing the two knights tango. Alternatives, I mean, d4, Richard Rapport would probably like that. He likes putting his knight on c3. And then some kind of quiet d3, bishop b5 check. Looks like the most standard kind of move. But I don't really think I have a whole lot after bishop b5 check, knight d7. I guess I could play a type of Catalan there with d4. Alright, let's play Bologan style. Alexander Kostyniuk. That might be a relation of Jennifer Shahade. We had another visit from Jennifer Shahade a few weeks ago. Knight c6. Maybe we should play d3 at some point. I don't know. Alright, it's all. No, bishop b5 is no longer interesting to me once I've played g3, I think. We're basically playing a Bologan setup in the two knights tango with colors reversed. Banter Blitz with I am William Paschall, only for premium users. Become a premium user via PayPal. I miss Banter Blitz with Tony Miles on the old chess network. Not connected to Chess Network, the chess streamer. There was a play site called Chess Network that was funded by Dado Tan, but it died some years ago. We had some really good players in banter chess. A lot of GMs. I had a lot of very, very good games. Actually, it was funny. Like a couple weeks ago, I saw one of my games in the database, and I was happy because I thought a lot of these like interesting games were lost. But I think that somewhere along the line, maybe a lot of these online banter games from World Chess Network got dumped into a database, which would be awesome, because I don't want them to be like lost for eternity. Hopefully, the one game I won against Miles on the black side of a Rossalimo is recorded somewhere. So it's basically like a King's Indian position here, and we've lost our tempo. What would Bologan do? Rook e8 is kind of interesting. Rook e1. This is another... Not that many, really recognizable names. Expert in the King's Indian in these days, like in the old days when it was so popular. In the 80s and 90s, the King's Indian, insanely popular. Now, it's sort of faded into the background a little bit. We still have Nakamura, Rajabov, Bologan. But you can really count on one hand the top players who religiously play the King's Indian. Here we've got it reversed. Rook e1, strengthening my control of the file, so I'm kind of enabling myself to play knight d5. And then we can consider c4 here, strengthening that outpost, or just play on the king's side. It's a little more traditional type of plan. But I think that realistically black is okay here. I'm not sure if I like h6 or not. It does weaken his king side a bit. That seems like... I'm kind of hoping that World Loser is just not really like, maybe in a position he's that comfortable with. Okay, pressure on my d5 pawn could be a problem. We're very, very short on time. It's basically like a Sarawon type of thing where they do bishop d3 against the King's Indian. It's similar to that, just a kind of pretty good version for me. Thinking about maybe c4 here, f4. f4 doesn't look that inspiring. He chops up my pawn structure. But nevertheless, it's a viable move, attacking his center. Queen h5. This is a bit more aggressive. I don't really know what I'm doing here. I mean, maybe sacking a piece on h6 is not on the immediate horizon, but you never know. Exchange sacrifices on e5. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to put my queen on an aggressive square. It puts pressure on his position. It's kind of hard to exploit my queen on h5. It would take him a few moves to try to trap it. It gets my queen off the back rank, allows me to connect my rooks. It just feels aggressive. Wow. King h7, that's kind of insane. I mean, at least it looks insane. Maybe it's not insane. Maybe it's a great move. And I am running out of time. Walking right into bishop e4 check. Bishop e4 check, f5. Alright. I don't know, man. King h7 is... I guess I didn't have it. I'm very low on time. Position is sort of stabilized. I have the worst structure, but my pawns are controlling the center. Wow. I didn't want to play g5 there on the pin on my queen. You know, normally I probably wouldn't go for liquidation, but I'm very, very short of time with only 10 seconds. He's very fast. So I'm just looking for moves I can play. I mean, at this point, it's not a matter of even trying to play the best move. I'm just trying to play moves, whatever I can think of. That's not a bad, any kind of neutral move, until I can build up a little bit of time, or at least until the time gets a little bit closer. I guess black is certainly not worse here. He's blockaded, and he has a slightly better structure. But again, I mean, I think my central control, because these pawns, although the structure is bad, they give me good control of key central squares. So I think that offsets the bad structure, basically. He's so solid here. I think I would be satisfied with a draw. I mean, if anything, black can probably try to do something in this position. I guess if he was playing an equal player or weaker player, he'd probably try to do something. But I kind of don't blame him for taking a draw here. I would say that the engine probably will call this as like 0.2 better for black or something. I might be wrong. Let's see. Wow, it thinks he's a pawn up here because of the structure. That's crazy. Okay, my computer is not that, it's not that fast, so I don't really trust its evaluation. It may go down. The engine says +1 for black because of the pawn structure. That's craziness. Wow, what an evaluation. So I got away with something there. I didn't think I was like -1.2. I don't know. I mean, objectively, I think this engine evaluation is a little exaggerated. I don't think he should really be better than a half pawn. It doesn't look to me like it's easy for black to make progress here. I didn't offer draw because I thought I was losing or something. I thought I was just a tiny bit worse. But I think this might be a situation where the computer, it's a little bit overestimating its position. Just because I have doubled pawns and isolated pawns, it's actually hard to win those pawns. So I don't know. All right, man. Good game, world loser. Well played. Vlas Hazior, why is he laughing? Oh no, Gladys Troll posted that again. Alright, I'm white again. Weird openings today. Trying to play unusual stuff. I played the Dunst. Let's play the Birds opening. I played e4 one game, and that's how we got into e4, knight c6, bishop b5. Okay, Birds opening with d5. We could play the let's play b3. The Bird Larson. I think this is a risky system. I lost a horrible game against the 2200 once, years ago, in a tournament in Vermont, I think. The 1.2 goes down really quick without perfect aggression. Well, I don't know. It seems like the computer is evaluating that 1.2 based on structural factors. you know, computer programs tend to a little bit overestimate static features like bishop pair and sometimes pawn structure. I mean, we really need to be like 1.5 to have a winning position. And honestly, it may be a little bit over the top, its evaluation. All right. You can think of this as like a kind of Queen's Indian reversed, or Dutch. I don't really recommend trying to do this in the normal Dutch with black, like b6. Yesterday I was talking about Konstantin Chernyshov, who's a Russian grandmaster who's played a considerable amount here in Budapest and Hungary, and he, you know, I introduced an idea yesterday in one of the games that he plays, knight a5 against the Sozin Sicilian. He also plays this Bird Larsen type of stuff, and he also tries to play it occasionally with black, like d4 f5 c4 b6. It's been around since, you know, last century, this idea, but it's generally considered to be unsound. Black here playing kind of passively, though. I think that the key questions, you know, involve black playing d4. I don't know that you want to do that if white has the option for bishop b5, though. So black has to kind of time his move order correctly. a6 would be a move for sure, you know, like a Queen's Indian reversed here. So now I go into basically what is a Nimzo with colors reversed. Not the only move. Blue Crow said, black can sit on the position. I understand now. The computer is playing for queen a5, b4, and queen a5, queen d8, b4, and queen a5, and I think it's going to just try to win the pawn on a2, something like that. That could be, that last game we're talking about, that could be a problem. The idea of queen back to d8 followed by queen a5. It's a concrete plan, and I guess that's why its evaluation was so high. So in the end, it's not my isolated pawns that are the problem. It's kind of like the a pawn, and he can swing the queen back. And because my pawns are fixed, I don't really have any threats against him. His bishop on d6, bishop on f5, blockading my isolated pawns. I have no play on the king side, and it looks like he can just maybe pick off my a pawn. And that's turns out it's not the structural thing. It's just a concrete plan for him to exploit my a pawn. All right. This is like Rubinstein, Nimzovich Rubinstein, or something like that. Famous game. If my bishop was on d3, we could do like a a Lasker double bishop sacrifice. Lasker Bauer, famous game. Bishop on d3, black castles. White has a combination based on two bishops sacrificing on the king's side. But it wasn't really correct. excuse me, guys. I've got a allergy situation here. By the way, it snowed today. I mean, I don't know where everyone else is at, but it's pretty crazy. It's the 19th of April in Budapest, Hungary, and I woke up this morning and there was snow coming down. Is that crazy or what? I mean, in Boston, I lived for 15 years in Boston. It's pretty typical to see snow in April. But in Budapest, Hungary, in like Central Europe, snow on April the 19th. That is pretty crazy. Let me see here. We had -7 yesterday. Protagon, where are you? Now it's just raining, you know. I mean, I think it was probably like +1. You know, it needs to be like just above freezing for it to snow. but it's pretty surprising. I wouldn't have been at all surprised in Boston. We get snow in April there, but here, I mean, we didn't get snow all winter. I don't know what to do, folks. D3 would be possible. I guess I should take on C6 at some point. The question is the timing of it, you know? I never really know when to capture on C6. I hate doing it unprovoked. D3, knight G4, any kind of nonsense, that's a little bit. There's also D4. If I play D3, he might have some tricks based on D4. I am kind of concerned. We'll have to contact Constantine and see what we're supposed to play in this position. I'm not even sure if A4 is is the best move for white. I could play knight E5 actually. There's nothing wrong with knight E5, ironically. Is there? You just clamp down on the square. If I played, for example, D3, he can play D4, trying to exploit the weakness of F4. I'm not sure if that works, just that it's a possibility I don't really want to deal with. Something like 100 days over 100. What? Cesar76 says we have only 1 month summer where I live. I wouldn't call it summer. It sounds like the Arctic Circle. Or Alaska or something. Northern Alaska. Siberia. Central Turkey. 1 month summer where I live. I wouldn't call it Central Turkey. I'm guessing it should be hot, right? But I guess Turkey is a country that has a pretty vast different kinds of climates in different regions. I don't know. I think of Turkey as being like practically in the Middle East, but you might have mountains and different kind of areas. 95 here. Hungary is just a plain, you know, so we don't have any mountains. I mean, it's very rare to see snow. Doesn't get that cold. What are you talking about, Crusader of Hope? The pawns and knight and bishop forming a heart. It's a smiley face. I call this the pawn bowl. It's a pawn bowl. I mean, this is actually traditional. Or smile. Actually, I refer to it as the pawn smile in some instances. Yeah, this idea of playing 95 right away is kind of interesting. He doesn't want to give up his dark squared bishop. At the same time, he can't take with the knight because he gets forked. I'm prepared to play bishop takes c6. If he wants to put pressure on e5, he might play something like queen c7, but then he actually takes away kind of like defense of the f6 knight and the king side a little bit. Knight e5 actually turns out to be a pretty good move. If it's a smile, it's a bit creepy, though. The queen c7, Serenity says, yeah, I mean, queen c7 is a very, very logical move. I mean, he's probably a little scared of something like situations where maybe I can attack on the king's side. You do have to keep in mind stuff like knight g4. But queen c7 looks like a move I'd probably play in a blitz game. Okay, rook c8, not all that different. Now the difference is that I can play d3 here without really fearing d4, I think. d3, d4, pawn, bishop takes c6, and then I win a pawn on d4. You know, whereas in other variations before, my knight was on f3, he might have bishop takes f4. So I wanted to defend my f4 pawn, you know, before I try to play d3. Now I think it's okay. Bishop takes c6 is also not a bad move. I mean, I think there's a question about his rook on c8. It could come Karpovian style to like c7 and help defend the king side. SXPG, he's been very careful not to play a6, which is interesting. We're both trying to save some time here. I mean, I don't want to take on c6 unprovoked, and he doesn't want to waste time provoking me to make an exchange I'm often going to make anyway. But he finally broke down. Knight b4, knight b8 are interesting possibilities. And then we get one of my favorite situations when I never know if I should play a5 or not. a5 is a move it's often good. It has also gotten me in trouble in some instances. I think in general, if I can play it, I would, in most cases. If I can fix that. If I don't play it, I'll never get another chance, most likely. It can become a weakness in itself, but it freezes his queenside majority. Well, it's not a majority, but this is typically where he's playing on the queen side, where I'm playing more on the king side in this Dutch type of structure with f4. And so I'm trying to get my cake and eat it too here. I want to have a king side attack, but I also want to freeze his counterplay on the queen side. Sometimes the a pawn falls off. I have to watch out for bishop c7, but I can protect it with queen e1, something of that ilk. This is a fairly standard kind of like maneuver. Also, if he plays bishop c7, he takes some of the pressure off, and maybe I'll just ignore it, you know. In some lines like bishop takes a5, I might have a very strong kingside attack. Rook f3 looks pretty interesting here. Rook f3, d4, nothing, right? All right, we're down to seconds, so I'm gonna go for. Ooh, he's doing this, calling my bluff. I thought we have some attacking chances here. Okay, it's like the understatement of the year, right? Not that clear though. If I check him, he plays king h8, and then he has time for rook g8, rook g7. Nah, this is only move. Not all that clear what's happening now. Not really sure what I'm supposed to do. Try not to lose on time. We have a better endgame with a better structure. Nothing really goes down here. Oh, the a6 pawn is hanging. I'm not in a rush to take it. It's not going anywhere. Now I'm going to take it. Am I going to take it? I still don't want to take it. Wow. He's going to take over the A file if I do that. I was scared if I take on A6, he can steal control of the A file. Stealing a lot of pawns. Alright, SXPG, good game. Good game, interesting. Curious if this position was ever reached in the opening. Only one game, wow, after 8 moves, that's unbelievable. Okay, it's not the most... You see, the computer wants to play knight e7 or knight b4 here. I think you should consider not letting me play bishop takes c6. That's a kind of advanced concept. Welcome, everyone. We're playing Weird Wednesday, which means unusual openings. I've played everything I can play against Mule Skinner. I think we'll go back to the Alekine's defense. I've run out of openings to play against him, and I'm not playing completely ridiculous things. So I tried to mix it up with different systems. I've had fairly good results with the Alekine's defense against him. I would consider this to be an unusual opening. I mean, many people consider Alekine's defense to be standard opening, but I think that's, you know, that's a very modern view of it. I mean, the Alekine's defense is kind of an extremely hyper-modern system. Here I could play c5. Transposing to Nimzovich Sicilian. I think that's fine as well. Anyway, he's going back into Alekine's defense. My friend Zoltan Varga plays knight b6 in this position. It's kind of a sideline. I'm not sure I really appreciate it that much. Korchnoi here said that... no, who was it? Not Korchnoi. Somebody was playing the Alekine's defense in the 70s on a regular basis, and against Karpov. I can't remember who it was now. Not Korchnoi. But they had given up playing bishop g4 because Karpov was too tough against bishop g4. Black was playing g6. I think that g6 is considered to be like the more reliable move. But our own Hungarian Grandmaster Ferenc Berkes plays a lot of bishop g4. Exchange variation. You can also take with the c-pawn here. I'm not sure. I think I had a game with Attila Turzo years ago. After CD. Now let's do it. It's more adventurous than ED. ED transposes to a normal exchange variation. CD is more aggressive. I've sidestepped a lot of the more dangerous lines of the exchange variation. Because he's played knight f3 early. Turzo played d5 against me here, and it's a very rare move. I reacted with e5, I think, which was kind of aggressive. I mean, it's safer to play e6 probably. Excuse me. But this was a game I played back in like 1997 in a GM tournament. Maybe my first ever GM tournament, and I went completely on tilt. It's the only tournament where I lost 4 games in a row, maybe ever. I lost one game, then another game, then by the third, after 2 losses in a row, I started to tilt, and then I think Terzo may have been like the last one, the third or fourth one in a row. I had a perfectly good position, but I just like lost my self-confidence to the point where I just like expected to lose, and I did. Sludgy, do you miss Python? Python? You mean like Monty Python or the programming code? Bishop takes f3. Have to ask Elliot Winslow. Too bad Python. He married that young lady, not Python. That's not his name. Was it Python? This is an unusual setup by Muleskinner. I have to defend this pawn, so I guess knight c6 is a no-brainer here. This is weird. It's not usual to see the queen drawn out to f3 so early. Python, of course. Was that his name? Royal Python, you're right. Do I miss Python? Well, I like suspected some people of being Python. Like, he had 2 accounts already, I think. He was here almost every day for a long time last year. I mean, someone like that who's so dedicated, I would think would keep playing, but maybe because he got married, yeah. Of course I remember him, but I thought, you said just Python, so I didn't really know what you were talking about. We never called him just Python. I didn't understand. It took me a while to figure out what you were referring to, Troll. Mule Skinner. Very systematic. Yesterday, Mule Skinner played a crazy game against me where he castled queenside in a closed Sicilian. Not something that most people would ever do. And I handled it very, very badly. He didn't play perfectly. He played kind of risky, but quite an interesting game, and also very fast. If I had handled it better, I would have had reasonable chances. But I'm not used to people playing castles queenside, basically on the white side of playing the closed Sicilian castling queenside in the fianchetto closed Sicilian type of position. What he did against me was far from standard. I just underestimated him, kind of reacted badly. I have a tendency to underestimate my opponents, oftentimes. Rimpu says, how do you prepare yourself mentally before a tournament? Well, this is a good question. But I think it's so many factors that go into that. What kind of tournament, who you are, what kind of person you are. But me personally, well, like the last tournament, I didn't prepare myself very well, very much at all. I mean, in an ideal world, you'd have a lot of time and be able to prepare your openings. I thought he was going to castle queenside again, kind of maniacal. I think that black has everything in order here. No bad pieces. Preparing yourself well. This is gonna, it's gonna be oftentimes a question of opening preparation. What would Berkesh Ferenc do here? D5. c5, knight c4. It was Oli Varga. That looks like the standard recipe. There was a time when I was playing the Alekhine's defense a lot. So Varga had an interesting game last month in one of our team championships, where the guy just went nuts against him. He was doing like h4, h5, and trying to attack black on the king's side, and Zoli got something like this in the center, and now white went c5, and Zoli played knight c4 and had a lot of play, and he should have won, but he ended up drawing. He was totally killing the guy. And it was like we didn't win a game that match, and Varga like totally should have killed this guy. I guess this is automatic recapture. I like black a little bit here. We have a good isolated queen pawn position. Set of pieces off the board, no weaknesses. His bishops aren't great. His dark squared bishop is a bad bishop. But it's still not that easy to win or something, you know. I mean, e5, it's a Tarrasch type structure here. Black is better. We could take on e3 and play e5. Then the problem is d5. Fixing the structure. I've done on my YouTube channel a recent video series I started on trashing the Tarrasch. I call it Rubinstein games against the Tarrasch Queen's Gambit with white. Actually, Rubinstein played with black the Tarrasch too, but that's another story. He loved both sides. This is basically a Tarrasch Queen's Gambit, and a good one for black. But it's still not easy to claim an advantage or win material here. Knight b6, d5, or knight b6, bishop f3. Black always has some kind of counterplay. Black. Well, I'm calling him black because he would normally be black in the Tarrasch. Alright. Mule Skinner has gotten faster of late. I have talked about that. Rook c8. It's not that easy. Objectively, it's probably about equal. His bishop pair has some latent potential. Knight b6, d5. Seems strange to do that. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm at least equal here, but I can't really decide on a plan. Keep looking for something. I like my position, but I just can't really decide which way to go with it. Knight b6, d5, we could just ignore that. Play knight b4. He's always got some sort of defense. b6, d5. Alright, whatever. I'm just going to make a decision. We'll try to keep it simple. So check out my YouTube channel. Video chess training on YouTube. Okay. Mule Skinner. Maybe I should play bishop takes d4 there. I'm not sure. I think he overlooked that his pawn was hanging. Played queen e2 very quickly. I mean, I would never just retreat my knight from the center voluntarily without a reason. I hate the square b6, to be honest. And I religiously don't put my knights on g6 and b6 if I have another option. Of course, the Alekhine's defense, this is typically a square you have to use. But Mule Skinner there, sleepy at the switch. Now we win a pawn, and he has a little bit of compensation, I guess, but not that much. He can go with opposite color bishops and try to draw based on opposite color bishops a pawn down. That's what he's going to do here, it looks like. I took with the queen because it clears my back rank, and you know, his queen is developed, mine isn't, so it's kind of not a bad exchange. I'm expecting some kind of technical ending. Queen g5, so much for that theory. A technical ending, I said. Queen g5, huh? Where are you going? Queen g5. The queen is in the center of the board. Queen b4. I want to open up my bishop, so it's actually a useful piece. I've got a throat issue with the allergies and stuff, so I sound like Roman Gingiashvili, basically my former mentor for our nasty divorce. Saji said, try to stream in the evening one day. You'll steal many viewers from others. I'm typically I have a lot of lessons. But that's, yeah, of course, Troll, I should stream in the evening. Occasionally. It's a good idea. What was my original plan here? Bishop takes c3. Queen takes b2, winning a second pawn. Yeah, I guess we're going to win a pawn. Actually, do we take the two pieces for the two rooks for the queen around here? Well, I wouldn't think it was stealing Mule Skinner. Not Mule Skinner. I'm sorry, Troll. Taking the two rooks for the queen. It's a good question. About the two rooks for the queen. I feel like it's a risk I shouldn't take. With so little time, I don't want imbalance. I'm going to try to just win a pawn up position here. Mule Skinner. Wow. Where does he come up with this queen e3 move? And he's offering me that again, the rook. He just doesn't care about the rook hanging to two pieces. It's pretty strange. In his world, two rooks are worth the queen, I guess. I don't know. My world, they're not. He seems to think that queen is equivalent to two rooks. If I had more time, I would snap that. Actually, yeah, let's do it. I mean, whatever, you know. I'm up a pawn and two rooks for the queen. Why did I put my bishop there? It's better on d4, of course. Okay. Oh no. Neil Skinner, you became a. I just noticed he became a sponsor, a patron of lichess. That's awesome. I was that new? I didn't notice that earlier. Anyway, I don't think you should give me 2 rooks for the queen. Kind of a little bit too much there. All right, Nabil 8+3. It's Wednesday, unusual opening stream. Yeah, evenings. You know, I'm old and I usually get tired. No, I'm just kidding. Usually I've been kind of. Actually, to be honest, I'm fresher in the morning, and I always used to love to play poker in the morning when I was playing poker full time. So it's kind of like a function of like it being like a habit of mine, you know, to like to work in the morning. But you're right, Troll, that I should expand and play more matches, play more streams in the evening. Try to mix it up a little bit. Hey, let's open with e4, h4. When I'm on tilt, I've been known to play h4 on move 1. There's a Hungarian master named Kadash. I think Kadash, who plays h4 all the time. I never met him. It's kind of legendary. Nabil, he has a system worked out, apparently, based on 97. Well, I'll try to run through my mind on the... What about queen h5 here? Then g6, right? Okay, never mind. Actually, queen h5, g6. Queen e5. What would Hikaru do? Queen h5, knight g6, of course. I mean, queen h5 has got to be crappy. It's just a kind of weird idea. I mean, I guess I'm going to have to transpose to some kind of normal line. I could play knight c3, though. Maybe it's better to play knight c3. Nabil uses 0 time. He had to give me time. He was giving me time. I actually resigned because I was angry with him for giving me extra time yesterday. So don't do that, guys. I don't want extra time. Nabil uses 0 time. He's beat me the last 2 games, actually. This one I forgot about. I don't remember what that was about. Not sure if I should play bishop b3. I guess I have to, you know, to avoid d5 with tempo. Well, we didn't seem to surprise Nabil with the King's Gambit. It seems like he plays the King's Gambit every game or something, because he's just totally playing instant moves. Against some players, the King's Gambit might be a surprise, but we've lost our advantage of surprise here. I don't really know the theory very well, so I'm just playing the King's Gambit on instinct. I always have. I don't play the opening very often. But I've enjoyed experimenting in the King's Gambit in Blitz since the time when I was maybe like 1700. So I would imagine this is still book, probably. hard to imagine how it's not, basically. I don't think that either side made any mistakes. 97 isn't a really common line, but it looks like a perfectly reasonable setup for black. Knight f3 will transpose back into some kind of normal-ish knight f3 line. I don't know if I need to play d4 around here somewhere. Maybe we're supposed to take on d5 and fix the structure. I'm kind of neutral about it. What would Spassky do? I'm not certain about taking on d5. Insta move. He doesn't need much time. Yesterday I was kind of disheartened by how fast he was playing. Knight takes d5, pawn takes d5. I guess I should throw in isolating his pawn there. So we're down a pawn. I wonder if he had queen h4 check. Probably king f1. Queen f3. Is that worth considering? Again, he has queen h4 check. I really am not sure. Actually, Richie, Arsenal fan Richie, plays the King's Gambit. He's not here today. I'm not really enthused about my chances here. It's not very dynamic. Looks like black should be at least equal. Alright, let's just develop the pieces and see what's up. I mean, should I play queen f3? Go for that pawn? Interesting question. Is queen h4 check a good move? Another question. King f1. Alright, let's try it. You only live once. Mid, king, mid. King takes g3. Yeah, that's a good move. I like king takes g3. Okay, queen f3 in the Latvian King's Gambit type of position is not an unheard of idea. If he plays queen h4, his queen ends up kind of looking a little bit out of play. Nabil gets 3 minutes ahead on the clock. CCETS says, I think e3 is close to as good as any. I think e3, gives away your opening advantage, but it's it's not a bad move. Now the key question. Well, I could play just d4. Nabil's play yesterday, he scared me. He was playing very fast, and it disturbed me. But in retrospect, I mean, he made some concessions and stuff that if I had more time, I would have been able to exploit it. Bishop c5. Allowing d4 with tempo. Seems kind of odd. So I could simply take on f4 here. Well, this is better, right? I'll take with the bishop. So we get our pawn back and we might be okay. It's always nice. Guys, we're streaming till 12:30 today. That's more than another hour to play. Now the question is which way. I like bishop takes f4 because, well, like mid king mid says to take the pawn, but it's also a good exchange of bishops, like his good bishop for my bad bishop. Now that my pawns are set up on dark squares, you know, this is the kind of like, it almost looks like an exchange French or something now, where I'm just making a good exchange of bad bishop for a good bishop. Exchange French, Tarash French, where black has an isolated pawn on d5. In all those variations, white likes to exchange the dark squared bishops. So I think Nabil had a good opening, but he's lost his mojo here a little bit. So we're going to have to play c3 at some point. Might as well just get it over with. Okay, I mean, on the defensive side of the coin, I mean, I think that black's position isn't that bad. You know, he has an isolated pawn. He doesn't have any real threats. But at the same time, you know, he's fundamentally still okay here. Finally, we're castled. We have a better structure. Some attacking chances on the king side, I would think. This bishop in particular, not a great piece. We don't have any bad pieces, unlike black. It's the only bad piece on the board, really, for both sides. Now we've got massive pressure on d5. So this looks really good now. I think the opening was pretty shaky for me. I was underdeveloped. I think I did something wrong. But we got out of it. Nabil playing a little too fast. Now d5 is officially hanging. I think we're just about winning in this position. I mean, it looked like he had to play knight e7, and I was calculating knight takes e6 if I can win his e-pawn. The text move just loses the pawn outright. I don't know. I mean, I like my... I like having a better bishop, but if we're going to win a free pawn, I guess, we're not going to complain about good bishops and bad bishops. The structure is really bad for black because now I have 4-on-2 majority on the queen side. I'm going to take with the queen here. I think his queen is pretty well placed on d6. So I can chase it away from its good position, or attempt to. I mean, knight takes is fine, but maybe knight takes with the idea of knight e3, knight f5 would have been an alternative. Queen and knight. Queen and knight is a notorious attacking combination, but he's got he's got defensive ideas. We're gonna trade queens into the ending. This should be a pretty easy technical win. I mean, this 4-on-2 majority basically equates to connected passed pawns. Should equate to having connected passed pawns. It should be really, really 100% win for white with any kind of reasonable technique. I imagine he's going to have to trade a set of rooks. He does not. Right now I'm on the 7th. I really thought, yeah, well, there's the exchange of rooks. It's kind of forced. I mean, my pieces are just too active for him to ignore it. He doesn't want to trade pieces, but I don't really see how he could have played it any other way, you know, than trading a set of rooks there. I was just too active. You know, if the distribution of pawns were different, if my extra pawn was on f3, this would be a much more difficult game, I think, for me to win. But when it's 4-on-2 on one side and 3-on-2 on the other, that's not a good situation. It's just too easy for me to get two connected pass pawns. This pawn being over here rather than here, that would be a very difficult technical win. King's Gambit structure. Why not castles instead of c3? Castles queenside. That's unnecessary. I think an unnecessary risk. This looks like an easily winning rook ending. There's several reasons why not to castle queenside. I mean, he's got a minority attack on the queenside. After castles queenside, he can play very aggressively. This is a completely winning position. Wow, okay. Now these two connectors, I was talking about this. I think Nabil must play too much bullet. C6 or D6. Hopefully I can't find a way to screw this up. Okay, now of course, if I play C6 right away, we tried, what am I doing? Oh my god, I almost played rook E7. That's insane. King up. Threatening C6. And where should we go? F5? F6 doesn't look bad. No. King D5. Stay with these guys. So keep everybody together. All right, Nabil. Not good time management, man. All right. R8+3. Nabil needs to slow down, and I'm sure that he's capable of playing much stronger. He forgets about the clock a little bit and just try to make the best moves. Clock is second priority. I know that I lose games on time sometimes, but it's okay. I think we win more games because people play too fast like that than we lose because we lose on time. Take your time and try to play the best moves. Clock should be the second priority, not the first. Okay, Ara Knight. I haven't played that many games with him. He's pretty solid, 2095, and we need to play something. something unusual. Well, I'm curious about the opening. King up. CCETS says Axel Smith has a book called E3 Poison about E3 and D4 openings. That's a pretty specific book, man. I think if I ever write a book, it's gonna be a little bit more for the ages. And I don't think that an E3 book is going to be my life's contribution to chess. One day, if I write a book, it's going to be a good one. I promise you guys. If we live that long. A4. It's a dynamic move. I think in general, this is kind of like playing on black's side a little bit. But okay. I think A4 is interesting. We play bishop b7 here. Try to trade wing pawn for center pawn. Why don't you play rated? Because I'm basically commenting for half my time, and I'd be giving people like 2-to-1 time odds. So if you want to play me rated, just catch me sometime playing on lichess and challenge me, but I don't want to do it on my stream. D3. It also attracts people to use computers against me. They like to beat streamers in rated games. I find that people generally don't cheat in the unrated games. Occasionally there are exceptions. So now D3 is a quiet move. I think we have to go transposing here to some kind of almost King's Indian attack. C5. C5. Weird position. Why not? Nabil, absolutely. That's my only criticism of you, is that you're playing too fast. You obviously have talent. You come up with good moves very quickly, but if you took your time, I'm sure you could do a lot better. But a lot of people are playing so much bullet and whatnot that, they kind of like forget how to play real chess. These are fast games in the sense of the world of chess in general. I mean, 8+3 is even fast. It's even faster than a rapid chess game. In the whole of the chess world, this is essentially a fast game as it is. You don't need hype or bullet. I don't really even understand. It's just, purely entertainment value in this ultra fast chess. I want to get stronger, and I'm not going to get stronger by playing 1-minute chess. You can improve your tactics to a degree, but I don't think that's my problem. I just want to get to be a stronger player all around. So anyway, okay, Aura Knight is playing a King's Indian attack with A4 on the board. It's a slight concession in the sense that he's just a little bit played on the queen side. Typically in the King's Indian attack, you're playing mostly for direct king side attack. Strong point is over here, and then white should focus on the king side. But A4, it's not that bad actually. I have to be careful about this pawn on B5 becoming weak. It also looks like a kind of closed Sicilian. Some closed Sicilian lines with E6 and B5 are pretty trendy at the moment. Not really sure what the best move order is here for black. I mean, knight f6 looks alright. We could just make moves. If white plays e5, his pawn gets a little bit overextended. In fairness, Axel Smith in Pump Up His Ratings book said that he punished himself for losing a game by keeping his curtains closed during the daytime for a month. Alright, that's interesting. I think he needs to get out a little bit more often. I think he likes publishing chess books. I'm sure that it's all good, but if I ever contribute to the world of chess literature, it's gonna be a bit deeper. Knight to c3. I think it's time for b4. Could play queen b6 as well. Just typical square for the queen in this kind of setup. b6. Well, I guess it's half a dozen of one, six of the other, but I'm a little bit worried about like e5 and knight e4. So maybe I should push that knight back. Time to get developed, huh? Time to get developed. I think that d6 is probably flexible. No, his knight on e2 isn't great. I'm happy I played b4 when I did, because if I give him time to play like e5 and knight e4, he might get a good game. So now it doesn't look that scary. It looks probably equal here. You know, I'm not sure in the end of the day what he achieved by playing a4. You know, this is kind of the debate about that kind of move. You know, is it going to be like detrimental for white in the long run? You know, to have opened the front on the queen side, and then later on I can take over the a file if I'm black and get some counterplay. Did he do my work for me? You know, because in the black side of such positions, I would be playing for a5, a4, probably trying to open lines on the queen side myself, and oftentimes he essentially like did my work for me to get open lines, make it harder for him to have an all-out kingside attack in the King's Indian type of position. So I once had a game with Shandar Kushtar that was like knight f3, b5, knight f3, b5, e3, a6, a4. Pretty similar. Except there, of course, he's committed to playing e3. And that isn't quite as, maybe not quite as dynamic. Now e5. Wow, bishop takes f3. It would give up my white squared bishop. Bishop takes f3, pawn takes f6. Bishop takes e2, pawn takes e7. That's not good. Well, we just take, queen d5 check. These pawns are fixed on the queen side on dark squares. So if I trade my white square bishop, maybe there's a chance. At the end of the day, I kind of get stuck with a bad bishop and pawns on dark squares. Oh man, I don't know. Queen d5 check. It's very tempting, but probably not the best move. Queen d5 check. Knight f3. And then he's going to play knight f4 later. Gain of time. I could play knight c6. Knight takes c6, queen d5 check, queen takes c6. This looks about equal. I mean, this is a good exchange for me. An undeveloped knight for a knight that's moved twice. Okay, I'm stuck with pawns on the wrong color, but I'm probably going to have the A file counterplay, and that should compensate. White has some weaknesses too, so I don't like to have bad pieces, and this bishop is kind of a bad piece, but that's life here. He can play knight c4, but it's kind of a time loser. Maybe he should. I don't know. We have some potential to attack him on the king's side. His king is kind of weak here, with g3 having been played and the white square bishop getting exchanged off. There's some chance to attack his king. Sideshow Bob TV. Guys, I don't recommend clicking on any links that are posted in the stream. I don't take any responsibility for what may be in there. So unless, you know, you're really confident about someone, don't click on any links. I don't recommend it. All right. We've been kind of troll free for a little while, but I don't want to jinx myself. So he decided to play knight c4. Okay, white's fairly solid here. King is a little exposed. Most of his pawns are on the right color. I talked about the A file, and that is a factor here. Queen d5, knight f4 is a problem. There are ideas of b3, but he just goes like c3. Knight on c4. We got to get rid of the knight on c4, I think. It's kind of a passive passive route for me to take, but this is just, I mean, actually, I could have gone knight a5 straight up. Maybe that's not bad. Knight f4. Some ideas attacking me on the king side. Attacking me. I don't really enunciate my words sometimes. Attacking me on the king side with like crazy stuff with queen g4. He doesn't really have pieces for that sort of style of play here. Enough pieces on the board. Position is equal, I think, in general. But both sides have things that could go wrong. Again, white's king, black with the pawns on the wrong color. There are ways this could go wrong for either side. But I think in general, it's pretty balanced. Alright, knight seems like a solid player. Speaking of trolling, King Crusher keeps putting this clip of, I mean, Gladys Troll keeps putting this clip of, that one you can click on. I think that's safe. He's a full candidate master. Once he put a video of a blitz game. He beat me on ICC on YouTube. It was a pretty bad game. He was like worse, like almost basically losing, and then just like I made some horrific blunder and lost. And that's a video on YouTube. I don't really like to make videos of my blitz games like some YouTubers, because I don't think the quality is really there. Alright, this guy's gone. But I certainly, if I was gonna do a video of a blitz game, I would at least want it to be a really good game. D takes c4. I mean, if I want to draw, I can probably hold here by defending passively. It won't be a lot of fun. My original plan was 95 now, but I'm not really sure what that does exactly. I ended up with the pawns on the wrong color that I was talking about. This is actually getting a little bit scary. I end up fixed with my pawns fixed on the wrong color. Like exactly what I was talking about. Alright, let's go for it. Holding. I was a little scared of rook a1, honestly, Aura Knight. Maybe you could try to win by playing rook a1 and using the a file. Now I'm going into passive defensive mode here. Hopefully we can hold this. It doesn't really appeal to me. Let's try not to lose on time. He does have doubled pawns. Which should be a handicap. But I'm suffering with the bad bishop all along, basically. We have a bad bishop and a bad knight. We have a pawn majority, though. Like, I should actually start using my pawn majority. I could create a passed pawn, theoretically. Wow, it's actually more difficult for him to do so. I've got to free my knight. Free your mind. Free your knight. Free my knight from relegation. We should be holding on. I don't think that winning is realistic here. Play g5. My goal was basically to draw when I went into this ending and traded rooks with rook to d8. You know, I kind of gave up any hope of playing for a win. So I'm offering a draw here. Now, last time I offered a draw, the computer came back and said I was like minus 1.2 against World Loser. Let's see what it thinks here. I think this is equal, you know. I'm usually wrong. But in this case, looks like we're right. So, my bad bishop is offset by the fact that he has doubled pawns. And it's really 0.1 for white. Alright, good game. I think if you look through the game, it was fairly balanced. Alright, 45 minutes left. Ayeste, Fly in Sky. This is a new account. I don't like playing unrated players. Fly in Sky. CCETS. King Chaser didn't show up yesterday. Ghost Mine. Alright. Anyway, let's play Ayeste. Cleaner draw this time. It was more correct, yeah. Well, against World Loser, I think it was about like Queen A5. It was a very concrete plan that he had that neither of us really saw. But my pawns were inflexible in that first game against World Loser. Alright, anyway, let's not play a routine move here. We're trying to play unusual systems that I don't normally play. Someone was talking about E3, but I played a game with F4 already. Knight C3. We played a King's Gambit. A Verisov, Knight C3. B3 we haven't played. Did we play B3? Let's play b3. I like b3 better than e3. I don't know. I like fianchettoing my bishops, basically. I guess I played c5. Jabava, the b3, top b3 specialist in the world. I'm not a big Jabava fan. I respect his creativity, but I think he's pretty far over the top in many cases. Maybe if he wasn't so creative, he could get even further. Some players are a little too creative for their own good. Though he's had success getting to 2,700. Hard to criticize that. So anyway, knight c6. Well, we can play any number of moves here. Double fianchetto, c4, knight f3, e3. Let's go with the double fianchetto. g4, yuck. Yeah, I hate g4. You won't catch me playing the Grob. It's just too weakening. I'd rather play h4 than g4, to be perfectly honest with you. I like h4 a lot. It like weakens white's position less than g4. Anyway, I just picked up something. Bishop g2. There they are. You could play a hippo. The hippo is basically like e3, d3, knight d2, knight e2. But hopefully we can do better than just to say in Hungarian shima, which means like simple hippo, a plain hippo. We can do better than the plain hippo, hopefully. We could play f4, e3 going to hippo, or just knight f3. A little more aggressive than this traditional hippo, and the knight is out in front of the f-pawn. f3 is the best opening. Yeah, f3 is... They used to call it the pork chop when I was learning. This master was the strongest player in South Jersey, Southern New Jersey, where I grew up, and Doug Brown was a 2300 player, and there were very few masters around. He used to play like f3, king f2, h4 in blitz against the weaker players. This we called the pork chop. f3, not a move not a move I've had too much success with, but I see the relation between f3 and h4. Yeah, it never worked for me. All right, so he's a solid, really solid player. But if we get him out of his pre-programmed openings, maybe he's not as strong as usual. Still, I mean, in that position, I think that black should give consideration to queen c7, trying to force through e5. Instead, he plays very quietly. Try to think of what inspirational players love to fianchetto both bishops early. Again, another reference to the late great Emery Tate. Emery would play red east where he would double fianchetto. He's an iconic international master from the United States. A little bit crazy, but brilliant too. Unfortunately passed away last year, surprisingly. Anyway, looks like black's pretty solid here. This isn't all that different from my first round game against first round. My first stream game against World Loser, where I played a kind of two knights tango and got nothing with white. Looks black's pretty solid here. Closed positions, the pieces generally belong behind the pawns, and that's why, I mean, there's virtue in putting the knight on e2 in this kind of position. Now, I don't really see a better way of playing this for white than going into the King's Indian type of structure here. I played a lot of I've played a lot of English defense with black, hippo type of stuff. My greatest win ever, my strongest player I ever beat was Alexander Onishuk, and it was actually with black and hippo. I've had good practical results. Good practical results in hippo type positions. That doesn't make it correct. I think it's just hard for both sides to play. Position is very complicated. Here he has more space. Theoretically, black should have a pretty good game. But that doesn't mean that in a real practical over-the-board or live situation that it's necessarily easy for black to play because he has more space. Every piece is on the board. Every pawn is on the board. There's no simplification. You know, if you want to play for a win, I think that's a good way to play chess. Try to keep as much tension as possible. This is almost like he's copying World Loser, who played virtually the same. Tempting to play knight h4 here, but maybe we should play knight c4 first. It's King's Indian-like position. h6 is a little bit weakening. It was a crazy game against Onishuk, and very intense game, very insane game. I didn't castle. I think I castle queenside or walked my king to c7 as black in a kind of insane position, and then at time pressure I was winning a rook. We were in mutual time scramble, and I won a rook. I was up a rook and a pawn in a crazy position, and I actually blundered the rook on move 40 or thereabouts, and I had to actually grind him. I had to grind him down in a queen ending, like up a pawn after dropping a whole rook. It was really pretty insane. Bishop e6. Ayeste is so tough. I'm looking for a King's Indian attack here. He's such a principled player, this guy. Only 1900, you know. I tend to underestimate people who are under 2000. But if you've checked out the games Ayeste's played against me, he's very, very solid. I really, really like, you know, his style of play. He absolutely plays correctly. And he's fairly fast. I think he seems stronger than his lichess rating. Winning the game more than once. Yeah, Onishuk was like 2650. I mean, he's pretty much the same as he is now. He's always around the same rating. I mean, he's a very stable player. You don't, with a player like that, you don't get a lot of rating fluctuation. You know, he's not a wild player. He's not going to like fluctuate by more than 30, 40 rating points over the period of years, probably. My other game with Onishuk, I lost stupidly with like white in a Tartikover Queen's Gambit. It was really dumb. 97. So this is a very safe type of move. So we have to go for it here. Oh man. F4. This is going to get very... This could get very sharp. We're trying to beat him to the punch on the F-file with the pawn break. Typically that's standard kind of policy in the King's Indian. I played a lot of strong players, but nobody over 27. I've never played anyone over like 27. I never played a 2700, or at least I never played anyone when they were 2700. Like the strongest player I ever played with was Belyavsky, but he had dipped below it was in 96 or 97, maybe later. 98, I guess I played Beliavsky, but he had gone under 2700. But I drew, and I was clearly better against him. Alex Wojciech wanted to kill me. He said I ruined the tournament, and I let him win the tournament. I let him win the tournament by giving him a draw. This was Wojciewicz's exact words. He was beside himself. We were staying together. But I'm usually inspired to play against stronger players. I tend to play worse against weaker players. And I also tend to overpress a lot more, of course, against weaker players. Bishop h3. We're starting to get the advantage. This is a typical maneuver now, which I do a lot in the hippo, the repositioning of the bishop that's blocked on d4 toward the king side. Got good attacking chances on the king side here. I mean, king h1. Let's make sure that there's no knight takes e4 type of sacrifices. But I like my position a lot. Now, b5. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to worry here too much, I think. How do I break it open, though? Wow, he's really aggressive. Like, okay, rook a7. He's also playing very quickly. Thought this pin would bring me some counterplay. He's reacting so quickly. Damn, dude. I didn't know he could play so fast. And he's only 1900. He plays super solid. He's also fast. It's really impressive, dude. Speaking of players who play well against higher rated players, I mean, damn, man. 1900 in lichess, and you can hold me to absolutely nothing. That's really, I think, strong. I feel like I'm playing Paul Kyrgios or something. It's like Fischer versus Kyrgios with the dark squares. Now I'm just slightly worse. Sees everything. He sees everything. And fast, too. You're telling me this guy's 1900? I mean, there's like no way. Why is your rating so low? I mean, you should be like 2200 easily. I'm only slightly worse now. I'm like clearly worse now with the knight on e5. I mean, he played an incredibly good game. I mean, I don't say, you know, black ever getting in trouble here. I thought I have a lot of play. Look at his defense, man. I mean, it's excellent. Even after I got the initiative on the king's side, he played phenomenally solid. Looks like I had something, and here it just evaporates. b5, that was a ballsy move. I mean, giving me this rook a7, just calmly defending with queen d8. Never ever had anything here. A little bit of activity, but it's just a farce. And then I tried to avoid exchanges of pieces. This is... He made one mistake. Where did he make a mistake? Here? What? Oh, he missed a tactic there in time pressure, mutual time pressure. Queen h5? What? That's impossible to see without a computer. Queen h5. Queen takes h5, rook b1, check. This would have won material, this resource here. That's his only mistake in this game. Missing this one chance for queen h5, which I certainly didn't see. Flying Sky, you've got no games, so I'm not going to accept that. Go and get some rated games, and then maybe we can play next time. I don't play unrated players. This is a really solid game by Black. It reminded me of Kyrgios playing Black against Fischer, where he beat him with a dark square control. In 2 games, actually, twice in King's Indian Attacks, where Kyrgios just dominated Fischer, where he gave him a bad white squared bishop and just took over on the dark squares in Caro-Kann. Caro-Kann 2 knights variation was something that Fischer struggled with the Caro-Kann, and was an opening that he never really found a good system. CCETS. This is a new opponent for me. I'm facing the London reversed. Another player who plays very quickly. Now, I don't know, maybe there are some instances where I can take on d5 with the knight on d7, but I don't really like that ending. Seems to know theory really well. This is fairly obscure variation. He was talking a lot in the stream now, this new opponent. I asked you play awfully solid. I think you should be higher rated. I don't know. But I think maybe I underestimate everybody. I mean, if I'm 2461 and I can't beat a 1900, maybe I'm overrated. I mean, basically, according to the ELO rating system, this is a mistake. You're supposed to play bishop c5. That I believe is the main line. You could also exchange queens, but the ending is kind of unpleasant for Black, so I think bishop c5 is clearly best. You know, so I'm supposed to beat like people who are 400 rating points lower than me virtually every game. That's what the ELO rating system says. I mean, Ayeste is 500 points lower than me. So this is supposed to be a player who's basically really easy for me to beat him. I mean, I should just beat him down almost every single game. But I don't see that there. I mean, he's just too solid. Like, how is he 1900? You know, 1900 should have some kind of character flaw. But Ayeste is just too tough. Here, I don't think that White really has an opening advantage here. I think this is a typical kind of situation I find myself in a lot in the system, where it's an equal game and basically the stronger player should win. I don't expect to get an advantage when I play knight f3 and g3 on move 1 and move 2. I'm not expecting that I can force an opening advantage. We're just trying to get a position that I can hopefully outplay my opponent in a complicated sort of game. Having said that, I had an almost identical game the other day against someone with like bishop f4, but I think that bishop f4, queen b6 back is one possibility. Okay, let's try Bishop f4, queen b6 back does bother me a little bit. He can also play bishop d6. That would lose a pawn, though. Bishop f4, queen b6 back. Let's try it. You know what? I mean, it's basically a free move. It's not a great square for the bishop. But e3 is not a great square for the bishop either. Now the London system is such a popular opening. This surprised me. This is very passive for black. It's not altogether bad though. I expected more active queen b6. Or maybe bishop d6 sacking a pawn. But in retrospect, I don't think that queen c8 is bad. It's a little bit passive. Be my only. My only criticism here feels like black's lost a little time. It's hard for me to open the game though. I mean, e4, knight c5 is always a problem. I could try to open the game with e4. He's hitting my queen with knight c5 all day long, so my best bet is probably just developing one way or another. Rook c1 is interesting. Let's try that. This is a move I play instantly. Knight b6. It's a strange move. I don't like knight b6. Black's also playing too fast, which seems to be a chronic problem here. Alright, let's just develop our pieces. Knight b6 is a bad square. I mean, I thought knight c5, knight e6. I annotated a game on my lichess, my YouTube channel, last year. A really nice game that Yakovenko played with white against Alexander Kostyanyuk. Kostyanyuk in a similar structure tried to do like knight a6, knight c5, and she did knight a6, knight c5, queen c8, and this type of stuff. But it was too slow. He wanted to play, I thought, bishop h3 like Kostyanyuk. But Kostyanyuk's game was really, really slow. Okay, he's playing super fast. Do you play a lot of bullet chess? Actually, he doesn't have many games at all. You're new to lichess. Maybe we should just revert to a kind of normal game here. A4. A4 actually looks pretty strong. The insta move. Okay, insta moves. Why the insta moves, CETS? Why not take a little bit of time? All right, we're gonna go for this. I'm not sure if I should throw in knight d4 or something first, but it's a case of black really not taking his time. I mean, h3 and king takes h2. What? King h2. I'm not concerned about bishop h3 at all. My bishop is a defender, but it has no play with the structure. Like bishop on g2, you should not bother with something like worrying about to prevent bishop h3 in this kind of position. Something it took me a while to really learn. There are certain situations, like in the Dragon Sicilian, where you need to, like, if white goes bishop h6, you need to play rook e8 and stuff like that. But I think it's more the exception than the rule. Okay, so I have queen takes check. That doesn't work. I have to play bishop c7. I mean, when the smoke clears, the point is I should have a really good structure, and he's also undeveloped. You know, his king's still in the center, and I'm not really focusing on winning material here. I'm thinking more about out-developing black. We might have really strong moves here, knight e5. But knight e5 may be too fancy. Something like knight e5, probably too fancy. All right. Knight e5, pawn takes a4 is good for me. Knight e5. Maybe knight e5 is good. No, he's got queen e6 there. Queen takes check, and black holds on to the extra piece. We'll take our material back. Black is playing too fast. It's an 8-3 game, and you're in trouble, and you're not using your time. The best time to use your time is before you get a bad position. That's a common mistake. And also a lot of people don't appreciate the difference with the increment. If this was a sudden death game, I think that black's time usage would have more sense. But if I'm in sudden death and I have a minute left, I'm in trouble. But with a 3-second increment, you can't really play to flag people. It's a really, really, really bad idea. I learned that like the first year that they started using time delay in tournaments. Don't ever try to flag people if there's more than like 3 seconds increment or delay. Let's see. 15 minutes left in the stream, so we've got time for at least one more game. Tomorrow I'm playing blitz and classical chess, normal openings. Yeah, I think this was forced. I mean, I do have rook c7, but then he's on my bishop, and my pieces get kind of, they start tripping on each other. Rook c7, queen d6. So, looking for tactics, I mean, e4 is very interesting, but it may be a little bit too much. But I have a lot of interesting moves here. Knight d4, knight e5, rook c7, queen d6 is a problem. Rook c7, and I'm afraid my pieces get trapped. It's a good structure for white, at the very least. This will tie him down to the f5 bishop, and then I'm threatening rook c7, which is really nasty. So I don't think he can ignore this, and it's kind of a double threat. I mean, there's the double threat of rook c7 and knight b5. Knight b5 might just be pretty much winning. All my pieces are working. He has rook on h8 undeveloped, bishop on f8 undeveloped. And now every single one of white's pieces is coordinated together. Even the bishop on g2. The rook on a1 looks stupid, but it's part of the configuration. I mean, the rook doubles on the c file. Everyone can communicate. That's what I really strive for. All the pieces working. So, how's this move? Communication. I had other ways to play the position. I could just take and play like bishop c5, preventing it from castling. This looks more merciless. Merciless. Bishop d4 was an idea, of course. What did I play? Well, bishop d4 right away. It's good, but it's not as good. He could castle, bishop takes f6, and I just have a slight advantage. We don't want to let him get away. Now, yes, this is an improved version. Or is it? I thought it was an improved version, but he's still hanging in there. I thought it was an improved version. He just castled. I thought I was threatening something. That's stupid. So I'm only winning a pawn. Alright, that's good. Well, pawn is pawn, I guess. I'll take it. It's not as much as I was hoping for. Maybe I did have better. Black's position isn't good, but he's only down a pawn. Maybe two, if he captures there. Not necessarily, though. All right. I don't want him to take over the c file. He defended really well in a bad situation. I didn't see like he could just castle. There is a problem with being down to 20 seconds. I have a really good position, but I can't afford to make any mistakes. I have to make obvious moves. I'd like to have more time, but I'm going to try to play one more game, guys. We're getting kind of low on time, 10 minutes to the end of the stream, but Ghost Mind is next. So where to go here? Well, it looks like he's kind of jettisoning. My old friend Charlie Herton would call it jettisoning his act. He's losing a second pawn at least. And really should be pretty straightforward. Time is obviously very important to CCETS. He's maintained the time advantage consistently throughout this game. Based on his ratings, though, he doesn't seem like a bullet player per se. I just could have won a piece. Alright, dude, I should start calculating. Start calculating a bit. That's the problem with having no time. I don't see him simply winning a piece, for example. I think you should have played that last move. He's a very competitive player, CETS, I have to admit. You know, he really fought me very hard. Probably lost like most of the game, but he made it tough. All right, Ghost Mine last game for today, guys. 5+3. Yeah, yesterday, I mean, the move that you missed, Queen H5, is, if you saw that, you'd have to be a computer. I mean, a very tactically minded player would find it, but in time pressure, it's a strange move, you know, a surprising move to find. I was supposed to play unusual openings, so let's play the Dutch. For me, Dutch is unusual. For some people, it would be their main opening. I reserve the right to decide what is a weird opening for me. Many of you may consider this to be standard, but for me it is not. I've never actually played the Dutch in a tournament game in my life. Despite playing over 2,000 tournament games, I think, I don't think I ever played the Dutch once. It's possible something slipped through my memory, but I mean, I could see myself trying it out against a weak player. I wanted to play the Dutch, and I started playing it in blitz at one point. But I never actually made it to beyond the trial stage. Sometimes I start thinking about playing openings and then kind of start experimenting with them, and then slowly get distracted, start playing something else, and it never really materialized. Bishop f4 is an odd move. You know, it's kind of appropriate in the Stonewall in some instances, but in this flexible Leningrad type of setup, I don't think that's really a great square for the bishop. It has a tendency to get attacked on f4 by pawns and knight h5 and g5 and stuff like that. So it's generally not really recommended to put the bishop there so early. You know, it's kind of like the King's Indian. I mean, you normally don't like the bishop on f4 because it has a tendency to get hit by e5. Bishop d5 is just a really risky, not only wasting time, but I think that white's better bishop, and he's tempting me to take it. Looks like a crazy move. I'm just sort of deciding if it's better to take it or to gain time with something like c6, e6. e6 is stupid. I'm going to take this guy. I think that pawn is ultimately weak. He also has white square weaknesses in the position. So, all right, it gives white a little bit of space, this pawn on d5. So there's kind of something of a very minor justification for this, for white, I would say. I wouldn't do it, but I mean, white's not necessarily lost because of the move bishop d5. It's not enough to lose the game. He still has some space and some kind of compensation, I guess. Maybe I should play c6 straight away, start immediate action. This may be a little too provocative for me, though. I have to be careful. White's developmentally... Okay, queen a4, I don't know. That's pretty aggressive. I was more afraid of like queen b3. Queen a4. Black could certainly sack a pawn. I guess just bishop d7. Try to play solidly here. Ghost Mine seems like he's playing very wildly. Bishop d5, queen a4. This may be too aggressive for white. And he kind of lost the tempo there. Looks like. Kind of. No tricks, per se. Takes, queen a5 check, knight back to c3. I can't castle, so So we'll play safe move here. Basically threatening to win a pawn. Any kind of endgame I like for black here. And now, the next question. I can't take on b6 right away. There's bishop takes c6. I guess that's pretty risky, but white's position is playable, and he's actually playing very fast. I don't know. Right, now I'm gonna take for sure. This looks like a good ending. There were a lot of ways I could have played this game, and I'm not sure I dealt with it the best. But I think now we stand better. I don't want him to play d5. And we're going to try to massage white with the two bishops. Long term. Better pawn structure. b3 was hanging, so he had to do something. Here, watching for tricks. King is centralized in the ending. Guys, this is the last game for today. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, where I upload the streams and other good stuff. Once a week I try to contribute something over there. This rook, the F rook, actually the H rook, it never did castle. The bishop's pair is very strong. We get a rook on the 7th. This is hard for white. I don't think that white should be able to hold this. I mean, the bishop pair is too strong. He has static weaknesses. d4 is even a weakness. His bishop on f4, not a great piece. It's kind of dead. So pretty much everything holistically is very good for me here. The entire position, and I try to treat chess as like Botvinnik, you know, in a way that like we're trying to accumulate advantages. Ghostmind, this is one of the first things I considered when I played King d7, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a really nice idea, a discovered attack, but it just doesn't work. I wouldn't have put my king on d7 without double checking to make sure that knight e5, you know, wasn't a thing. That's the first thing. I'm very defensively minded, so the first thing I had to make sure, you know, I'm a good defensive player and very prophylactic. And when I put my king on d7, I was like, does knight e5 do anything? Okay, then I can play it. You know, it's a good idea, but it just doesn't work. So guys, we're going to wrap it up today. Tomorrow we'll be back with more Blitz and Classical Chess. And I want to thank everyone for playing. Also, if you can support the stream and my YouTube channel with a donation via PayPal, much appreciated. The link is in the Twitch stream and on the YouTube channel. Yeah, we're just going to play bishop c6, guard the 7th rank. He does have a check on d6, a rook sacrifice. That's not going to cut it. Too much material to give up. And this pawn cannot be captured right away because he has rook e3. So I'm biding my time to take this pawn on e5, but there's no rush. We are up a piece here. I mean, I might be able to just play bishop e4 and then take on e5, but I don't want to give him any counterplay. Alright, Ghostmind resigned. Thank you guys for the games today. Quite a few solid games and a number of draws. So I kind of got lucky against World Loser in the first game. Looked like he was clearly better when he accepted my draw offer. Sometimes we have to kind of bluff our way to saving a draw. But anyway, it wouldn't have been easy. Alright guys, thank you Plukro for moderating. Thanks everyone for playing and tuning in. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. CET here on lichess and Twitch. Bye-bye.